So we got to watch this riveting episode in game, which is a great title because we got to see the conclusion to Sheridan's plan. Before we jump into it, I wanted to know, what did y'all think of the major themes that were presented in this episode?
I was really excited over the not giving up hope, the against all odds, I'm gonna find a way, because I love Ivanova. She ain't gonna die on my watch situation from Marcus.
Other than Franklin, Marcus is probably the best or second best human in the galaxy.
The most intelligent savers. On the other hand, the thing that stood out the most to me was Franklin with the telepaths, and finally seeing what the plan was with them, because I was off when it was pretty obvious and smart. Immoral, but smart, but also moral. I don't know. It was storyline for him, but because it was him, like, we knew that he was thinking about it. It wasn't just like throw him out there.
I like the way that this show does this delicate balance of, we have these archetypes of heroes, right? They're in a war, but they have to dance between doing things that are straight up unethical and very evil, but they have the goal of doing something much bigger and much more beneficial for everyone, not just humanity, but the galaxy. So there are some distasteful things that we've seen that happen in this show. And it's also really cool because it was Sheridan's idea. Sheridan was the one that came up with the idea, which goes along with his Star Killer moniker from the war with the Minbari. It's very much something Sheridan would do. And him asking his people to do it, we get to see what they're made of too. Because it reminds me when Sheridan asked Garibaldi for those nukes, and Garibaldi was like, whoa, like, are you sure you want me to do this? I mean, I'll do it, but this is a pretty significant ask. Don't get me wrong, I'll do it. It's just, are you saying we get to see what all of that work Sheridan was doing this entire season to whip and shape the aligned worlds, the aligned world fleet. And now they're all together. And the thing at the very end that they do, I think, is amazing. I'm going to save that for the end of the show. You know, you guys got to listen. Be sure to watch with us. This is a lot of fun. But this whole episode, if you think about it, was an action-packed episode. This whole episode is kind of like an entire telling of a space war or a space battle. It's done in a great way where you see what the strategy is, but you see it play out. It reminds me of heist movies where it's like, okay, first we're going to do this. And then when that person does that, we're going to do this, right? I know that they have the trope, like, if you show them doing it, then they're going to mess it up. But if they're just telling you they're going to do it, then they're going to succeed. So I wonder if that was any of a consideration in the show, because there were certain parts where it's like, okay, we're doing this, and then when you finally see what they're doing, you're like, oh, that's clever. And it led to, I think, a very wild ending, but it's a really good way to get out of a lot of those story threads that were hanging from season 3, well, even going back to season 2. And so now we're free and clear to move towards a very specific story that's being told. And we're also able to kind of celebrate a couple of things. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. So this episode starts with the combined fleet, Earth Alliance, Resistance, and Alien. They're all gathering in hyperspace. And while that's going on, we see that Ivanova is lying comatose. And she's, we know that she's mortally wounded. In the last episode, she was hurt and she was talking and she's like, I don't feel good. This sucks. But they were able to stop those hybrid shadow destroyers. Marcus wants to stay by her side, but Dylan is like, look, she can't stay here. We need to get her to Babylon 5 so she can get treatment. The most important thing is that we make her comfortable. And Marcus is arguing with her, saying like, no, she would want to be here on the front lines of the last battle. She doesn't care if she's comatose or not. She needs to be here. And eventually, Dylan convinces Marcus that she has to go back to Babylon 5. Then we see that Dr. Franklin, he is recording a personal log, and this makes it extremely dramatic. He's talking about how they have prepared for the final strike against Earth to free Earth and Mars. And what they are doing is they are Franklin and Lyta are coordinated with number one on Mars. I keep laughing because she doesn't have a real name. They should have gave her a name. Does she get credit for
Oh, I don't know. I didn't watch the credits.
That's a good question. But they're with the Mars Resistance, and they're talking about their part for the battle. And what it is, they have the 30 cryo units that contain the shadow telepaths. They have them set up to be transported onto the Clark Loyalist Earth Force ships. And the way that they're doing it is they're sneaking them on with those ships, get supplies from Mars. And I didn't necessarily catch on to this. It took me a little bit later into the episode. But yeah, the ships are blockading Mars. The entire fleet of Earth Force ships is blockading Mars. They're just sitting there waiting for Sheridan. And it looks like the way that they showed it in the show, it's pretty menacing. It's like, if we see the fleet engage those ships, it's going to be devastating. Franklin basically gives them the instructions, like they need to get the cryopods onto the station. They wouldn't be able to slip weapons onto the ships, but they can get these pods. And everybody's confused, like, what are y'all even doing? So we can get on there. Garibaldi is scouting ahead on Mars, and he links up with Franklin and Lyta. He orders a strike team to advance on these ground stations around the spaceport. And his group, they're setting up targets, and they are pretty much ready to do their thing. While that's going on, the shuttles from Mars are delivering provisions.
That was convenient. They're getting those supplies from Mars.
But it also makes sense because Mars is under martial law, and they are the Earthship.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, because that was their next target to liberate.
I like how they are trying to be as realistic as possible, because Garibaldi is in Martian atmosphere. He's outside of the dome. He's wearing a face mask, and he has on like a really thick winter coat. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Mars is cold. Like, you don't just go up there and feel like it's normal Earth. It's very cold, so they have to protect themselves from the cold temperature. So bravo, good touch. Because in like a lot of these Martian in a lot of these Martian movies, they are just wearing these really thin spacesuits, and it's like, no, you feel a little.
Yeah, unless they like trying to imply that they have some special technology suit that's light and will also keep your temperature or something.
I am always thinking that it's hot, and when I see the movie like The Chronicles of Riddick, and it depended on the time of day, and it switched from, you'll boil to death to you'll freeze to death, just depending on if you're in the sun or the shade.
Yeah, but that wasn't Mars. That was a fictional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because like a lot of these different space movies, they always depict other planets as Earth-like as much as possible. It's like, it's Earth-like, but you got to wear a mask. It's Earth-like, but you can jump high. And it's like, no, in real life, the sun affects a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, you gotta, unless they show you a planet that is like an ice planet, you everything is cold.
Right. And then like some people really think that the Earth moves like a mile off course from its spinning around its not axis, its rotation, that it would change, that everyone would die because the temperature would change drastically, when it's like, no, we move a lot further than that all the time.
Yeah. The Goldilocks range is pretty big.
Yeah.
Like the Earth can deviate a pretty decent amount without it killing everybody. It'll just get
But like back in the 90s, I would suppose, especially considering the disaster movies, like Hollywood knew nothing about science.
Hollywood knows nothing about science. They get it wrong all the time. And there's a point where it's like, are they doing this on
Yeah, like sometimes I know that they're doing things like especially with gravity, for the action, for the attention, for the big thrills and stuff. But some of it is just like you could have. Well, we couldn't Google in the 90s. When they do it now, it's terrible. War of the Worlds. Um, have Google. I know you do.
Yeah. Right. Or they have consultants, at least on some of the more hard science, quote unquote, movies. They try to have consultants that at least help them. And they can lean in the right direction.
Some of those things they could have asked a fifth grader.
They could have, but that fifth grader's not a multi-million-dollar executive who's trying to impress his father or a girlfriend, you know. You know, he's just trying to make his mark in the industry. All right. We move on to the next act. We see that the ground station, this is where Garibaldi is eyeing and approaching. The Earth Force soldiers, they're on high alert because they're anticipating Mars resistance. The station commander tries to contact someone, but there's no reply. And then an insider officer incapacitates the commander, knocks him out, and Garibaldi and his team breach, and they subdue the remaining officers, and they secure their team. What is so funny about this actually looks like Star Wars to me. This looks like the Battle of Hoth, but on Mars. And I wonder, like, there's that, and it also looks like they are inspired by World War II as well.
A lot of Babylon 5 looks like World War II, especially something that happened close to the end.
Yeah. And I know Star Wars was definitely inspired by World War II. There's a lot in there, but this part kind of like reminds me of both. So Garibaldi and his team, they breach the station and they secure it. They tell Sheridan, and in hyperspace, the whole fleet, they are pretty much ready to engage. Sheridan gives a really cool message to the fleet. He's like, "Okay, we're ready to go." He tells the Agamemnon, like, where we're about to go, where we're about to go, you'll see more trouble than you've ever seen in your entire career. And that makes me wonder, like, how old is Sheridan? Because he was in the war, and that was like 10 years ago. So how old are these people that are part of this ship? Except for the captain, because they look pretty close in age. So maybe they got a lot of young people on the crew.
Oh, I mean, like in a 10-year span, you probably got a lot of needed crew.
And, he's telling them, y'all get ready. We can't hit Earth until we handle Mars first because we don't want to fight a battle on the two fronts. And I'm like, that's really smart. That's a really good point. Because if they go straight to Earth, then they have 30 Earth Force destroyers hanging out ready to close in on them. It's a very smart idea. The White Star Fleet and the Earth destroyers will lead the assault. So the ones that are part of Sheridan's crew. And then the League ships are going to hang back, and they are going to be for support, and they're going to hang back and not engage unless they're fired upon. And later, when we find out the reason why he wants to keep them hanging back is because they want to offer aid to the Earth ship that they disabled. So he's got a lot coordinated and ready to go. We switch to see the Apollo, which is an Earth Force ship. They are loyal to President Clark. And we have the captain. He's reporting to the general. The general is Levcor. And I like this discussion, or I like this back and forth talk, because with the captain, when the captain reports, he says, "Hey, we got the report back," and the general is like, "What's going on with our hyperspace probes?" And the captain says, "Okay, I got those back. There's something going on. We don't know exactly what it is." And the general is asking, "Do you think it's Sheridan?" And he goes, "I really don't know." But the general's like, "Nope, it's for sure Sheridan. And we need to be ready."
I really liked when he took over control of that ship and the captain asked the general to speak freely and was basically like, "Why have I been demoted?" And that the general didn't just tell him, some, on needs to know basis. He gave him the full scoop. Like, I don't want to have y'all do this, but I taught him everything he knows. I knows him like the back of their hand. And we're basically about to have to eliminate our friends and family out there. This is a terrible day. Yup.
That actor is great too. Like, it came across so natural. And he was talking to he even explained that he was there because he knows the way Sheridan thinks because he taught him in the academy.
Long time ago.
And so they're like,
by the way, what? Hey,
he was a long time ago, Sheridan.
right? Then considering what he's been through, being on Babylon 5, like the Shadow War, what he's learned, what he's gone through, what he's not a ensign anymore. He's not a cadet anymore. Like, you can't compare your cadets to what they become 20, 30 years ago. Let's consider the fact that the Mimbari War was like 10 years ago when we start the show. And they've been out there for like 3 more years. He is not the same person.
Yeah. And then in that time that we've seen him, he's done some pretty clever stuff to take out people in space battles. So, and we get to watch him do it again. Left Court, at the end of that talk, Left Court contacts the fleet and he tells them, all right, we're getting ready for Sheridan's fleet. You'll see defected Earth destroyers. Those are targets. Don't look at them as Earth Force. Look at them as targets and destroy them. You can fire on anybody that comes through that gate. What do you say? We updated their friends or foe tags in our system, and he turned them all into foe. And I think that was a really good point because Earth Force is looking at this as like, all of y'all are the enemy. Even if we think that the president is doing something that's not right, you don't go against Earth Force. He even says that a good soldier doesn't fight against his own government. And I think, who was it? It was a couple of episodes ago. The other captain said, like, yeah, a good soldier follows orders, even if you think they're illegal. They keep saying the same thing. Just following orders. Just following orders.
That's how their system is. Right. That's what they expect of them.
And that's part of the space fascism that is most insidious. It's a lot of people who will say, we're just following orders. We know, we know that from Earth history. There was the Nuremberg trials, and a lot of the Nazi soldiers was like, I was just following orders. It's an easy way to cover up the evil that you're doing, because then you can blame the people who are in charge, who are probably dead by now. But it tries to absolve a person of their individual participation. And it's kind of interesting because we're seeing the same thing happen today. People are just following orders. And the truth is, we know that people are choosing that because they want to be cruel to other humans under the guise of protecting their country. But they don't know they know what they're doing. They just want to be cruel. They want to be mean. So Garibaldi and his team, they're preparing for their part of the mission. Lyta is being fitted for this. It's kind of like a halo piece. It's like on her face and in her head. Honestly, it reminds me, now that I'm looking at it today, it reminds me of Cyberware from Cyberpunk 2077, the video game. It's kind of cool. And it's supposed to help enhance her telepathic abilities, like the range of it. And she knows that she has to go outside to use her abilities. And Garibaldi is really frustrated about it. It's like, if you outside, everybody will be able to see you. She's like, look, if it's going to work, I need to go out there. We're setting up so many reasons for all of the characters to put their lives at risk. And we know that Lyta has an extremely important part to play. I would say we're kind of curious, like, okay, what's going to happen? So she's getting ready to step outside. Marcus on the White Star is kind of staring off into space. Lanier interrupts him and he's like, oh, you're thinking about Ivanova. I think the part that we skipped was Marcus does scout ahead and he's ready to jump to Mars, but he has to wait for Garibaldi's signal. He was already given the order to do so by Sheridan. So when Garibaldi's supposed to send a signal. And so Lanier is like, you thinking about Ivanova again? Marcus says he's thinking about how much he would want to be there. And maybe there's hope for her back. Maybe there is hope for her back at Babylon 5. And Lanier's like, I mean, she's almost dead, so if I were you, I wouldn't hold out hopes too much. And Marcus snaps at him, like, what are you talking about? In the last year, we've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. Sheridan came back from the dead, and we've witnessed all kinds of other wild miracles on Babylon 5. So don't tell me there's nothing we can do. He says that he reached out to Dr. Hobbs to see what could be done, and Lanier quickly says, like, no, there's nothing we can do. And Marcus again snaps back, like, what do you mean there's nothing we can do? And Lanier says, well, there's nothing usable in Babylon 5. And then Marcus' eyes explode. His eyes widen. He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean nothing we can use? And then right then they get interrupted because Garibaldi is calling to give Marcus the signal. Whew, right in the nick of time, right?
And two of my favorite parts are happening kind of simultaneously right here because we've got Marcus not giving up. And he's just like, I'm find a way because there's too much evidence that there is hope left. So let's not give up now. And then when Garibaldi makes the call and he displays signs of dyslexia, brilliant.
Oh, yeah, that reminded me of how I actually used to teach that. Latitude lays down.
Gosh. I mean, yeah, longitude, the long lines, latitude, the lateral line.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I remember that.
it's also kind of funny, but like, you live on a space station. There is no longitude and latitude. So he has lived a while without needing to know any of those things, but he did grow up on a planet. So, but you only have so much access to the planet because it's not inhabitable.
And for a second, you're thinking like Garibaldi's plan, but there's two particular signals here that are telling me like maybe Garibaldi is dyslexic, because one is Franklin. The Franklin is like, are you sure you got that part set up right? Because it seems like you have trouble with that. So I'm guessing they had conversations in the past. And Garibaldi fumbles. He's like, well, of course I got it right.
Because dyslexic people really do believe that we be having that shit right. And it's so hard to know something in your brain and for it to come out your mouth the right way. And right after you say it, you'd be like, no. And it's a daily struggle. It really, really is. So that was just super funny to me.
Like, writing is easier because I can go back and check it like 5, 6, 7, 20 times. But when I'm talking, I can't correct myself, or if I do, it sounds bit. Yeah.
For sure. So are we really sure? No, we're not really sure. But
This is why I put out YouTube videos like twice a month, because editing them and the paranoia of making the video in the first place is just, I could take notes all day. I just need to record.
I saw a vid that was talking about how there was so much shame and judgment that dyslexic students would get from teachers when they were hypercritical over like, did you even try? Did you even proofread this at all? And it's like, bitch, you have no fucking idea how many times I read over there. It's still wrong. It is just like, you don't understand my life. And it might be us just like a little as on edge as we are.
The other part of this scene I thought was great is the resistance person, the black woman. First of all, she's gorgeous. I absolutely love that she's there because she does nothing but give them attitude. She's like, signal for what? He's like, because Garibaldi's like, all right, everybody get ready. We're going to open up a drug plane. She's like, what? That's not a good idea. They'll crash right into the surface and destroy everything. And Garibaldi's like, not unless they have accurate location information to a few feet. And that's what Franklin is worried about. And and he had already sent the signal.
Right.
So if it was wrong, oh well, because here comes Marcus through the jump gate and it almost hits them. And then when he jumps through the gate, he starts taking out all the AA towers. It's to prevent for any type of ships or whatever to get to the surface. And then on the ground, they have other types of cannons. And Marcus actually misses one. But Garibaldi takes control of the cannon. He takes out the tower. So now they have Mars. At least there's a white star on Mars. Back on the Apollo, the captain tells Left Corps that the resistance on Mars opened fire on the bases. And Left Corps is like, nope, we don't need to send any ships back. This is a diversion. We won't send any ships for a counterattack. But then he's sending like, okay, Sheridan's trying to distract us, but why is he doing it? What is he trying to get us to do? Like, he has our attention diverted for what? Let me think. What is that boy up to? And then on Mars, Lyta is scrambling outside because she's having trouble walking, which I think this is the other part about Mars that there was some discussion that a lot of places get wrong. Movies and TV depict Mars as having this harsh weather. And I think it was the movie The Martian, the one with Brad Pitt, and he got stuck on the planet where his whole team gets killed by this Martian storm. And in real life, that storm wouldn't have done anything to anybody at all. But she's scrambling to her spot and she focuses real deep. Her eyes darken and she sends the telepathic message. And what she's doing, she's activating the telepaths that are smuggled on the Earth destroyers. And we get to hear Franklin talk about what's going on because that resistance fighter is like, what is she doing? Franklin explains like the telepaths that are on the ship, they're getting the signal. And she's like, what is so special about the telepaths? Oh, well, these aren't just telepaths. These have been reprogrammed by the shadows. When they wake up, they're going to be wondering where they are. And then they are going to want to plug into the ships. And she was like, oh my God, you mean you're using these people as weapons? How could you? And this is that whole moral aspect, that morally gray aspect. Because Franklin was like, we either risk 30 lives to save 30,000 or we all die. And they were going to die anyway because they couldn't remove the implants without killing them. So we might as well use them. And, oh gosh, I know Franklin hates that too because he wants to save everybody's life. Yeah. And remember how when we talked about Garibaldi, when Sheridan gave Garibaldi those orders to get the nukes, he was like, oh, shoot, okay. Well, when Sheridan gave Franklin the orders about the telepaths, Franklin looked like his whole life was just over.
Yeah. He had existential crisis immediately. They even tell us what it was. They just showed him acting his ass off.
And so now here it is. The telepaths are activated. They start to connect to the ships and they start shutting down those 30 destroyers that are in orbit around Mars. And Sheridan, he receives confirmation that the telepaths have been activated. And then he orders the assault. And that's when you see all of these jump gates open up around Mars. Left Corps, he's like, okay, here's the fleet. We know what to expect. You guys got your orders. And then as soon as they are trying to engage, the whole fleet goes dead. All of the ships deactivated. Their computers go dead and their communications are cut out. Left Corps is just like pissed off. He's like, it was a sneak attack the entire time. And then he tries to think of like, what could have happened? What could have happened? How could we be sabotaged? Did we get any type of supplies? And the captain's like, sure we did. And they find out that when they resupplied, they got the telepaths.
I really like this strategy because though we are viewing it as immoral to use the telepaths as weapons, we got the hiccups. We didn't make them that way. Like, we didn't augment them to do this, but they have been, and we don't have a way to remove the augmentation humanely. And what we're really asking them to do, if we ask them to do it voluntarily, they more than likely would have volunteered to do it, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we could have got 30 volunteers to go on a potentially suicide mission. Maybe not. They might not die. There's, low risk that you go make it, but they would have went in there and sabotaged these ships if they had the chance. And from my understanding, because we're not going to destroy the ships, we're just disabling them, it's likely that even the people on the ships are going to live too. So
My understanding too was that he did say that the only way he could possibly save these people was to use resources on Earth. So if we don't fight this battle, we can't save them. So they were essentially fighting for their own survival inadvertently.
It does bring up a lot of questions about ethics and morals, because remember, telepaths are still kind of second class citizens. They're under all kinds of sanctions and control. Psychor is still under government control. And everything that Bester's been trying to do is actually prevent telepaths from being used for this type of thing.
Yeah.
And Sheridan does it because he's like, well, shoot, we got a tool. Let's use it. It's exactly like when he first got the White Stars. He's like, oh, we got a tool. Let's blow this up immediately. So it's kind of a wild situation that they're in. And you're right. Someday they do disable like 20 of the destroyers, and 5 more are losing control. So that leaves only 10 that are active. Sheridan orders the White Stars to focus and cripple the remaining. So they come in and they start blasting the engines on the other ships. And pretty much the entire fleet is just out there floating around Mars, and very few casualties. The security forces on the destroyers finally figure out what's going on. They see the telepaths. On the one hand, I hate the way that they look when they merge with the ships. But I think it gets it across pretty well, because they just put a bundle of wires on them. Not like Borg wires. It's just like regular old, like little red, blue, green, yellow wires.
Babylon 5 budget wires.
Yeah.
They're not making all new technology. And considering they are Earth ships, but they're Babylon 5 Earth ships, so they look. This is the same place that still uses paper for newspapers. I'm not going to let that go.
So Sheridan orders Delenn and the alien forces to hang out in Mars and assist the disabled vessels. That's what the fleet is really there for. Yes, to offer support to Sheridan's fleet, but the big thing is Sheridan knew he was going to try to disable the destroyers. The aliens are there not to kill humans, but to offer aid. A little bit more will come to light about what they're doing later on. Sheridan then sets his jump target for Earth. They have an Earth beacon 11629. There they go, off into hyperspace, ready to jump. Which, okay, we're not at the end of the episode, but man, they are really making progress on this plan. And that's it. Honestly, as a viewer, it's like, oh shoot, they made it through. Okay, we're gonna actually see them succeed finally, right? And then we switch back to Marcus. Marcus is in his quarters looking at Franklin's logs, detailing, like, he's trying to figure out, like, okay, we're going to do a search. I want to look for these things. Tell me about treatments that are used. Tell me about life-threatening, and all these different things, dire situations, etc. I can't remember exactly the words he used, but he does a quick Siri search, and he's like, send it to me.
The closest thing we got to what do you call it? The episodes that were super lazy where they just do a clip show. We got a tiny clip show.
Oh yeah.
It won't even a minute.
Tiny clip show, and we get to see what happened to a character from the past.
Yeah, what clips is a new?
It's actually really sad. It's super sad. I mean, we knew it, but Franklin was the one that had to do it. So we see Franklin, he's talking about things, and Marcus is like, skip it. And then we see Franklin, he's talking about Kaylin James, who passed away. She was a woman, 36 years old. And we're like, oh, that was his girlfriend from that jazz episode. Mm-hmm. So I don't think any of his other girlfriends died, but that was a really sad one because she did have that disease. And Marcus is just like, yep, skip it. So he doesn't care. Because I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows that that was somebody that Franklin cared about. He learns about how Franklin and Sheridan revived Garibaldi after being shot in the back. And Marcus is extremely interested. Like, wait a minute, what? So then we switch away from that to Captain Mitchell, who reports killing a telepath. And they found out that they have these ships. They're in space without communication. And it was because they had telepaths smuggled on. Leftcourt angrily orders repairs to his engineering team, which, come on. All right, this is how I know you're an evil person. Because you take out all your anger on the only people on your ship trying to keep your ship working. I mean, I don't know. I guess you can make them work faster. So, yeah, he's just sitting there floating in space dead. Lanier reports to Delenn, and he's like, hey, so you wanted to see me? And Delenn is like, what are you talking about? You wanted to see me. And then both of them like, oh, Marcus. Basically, Marcus sent messages to have them distract each other while he takes his White Star and he leaves the front lines and he heads back to Babylon 5. So, bro went AWOL from the battle to Babylon 5. And there's nothing anybody can do.
Did you get his mission first?
Yep. Oh, yeah. He did his mission and he immediately was like, okay, back to Ivanova. Bro is just gone. So Delenn tells Sheridan that Marcus went AWOL and headed back to Babylon 5. Sheridan realizes that Marcus knows about the machine, and he's just like, because they're watching the video that he watched. They're like, oh man. Well, we can't send anybody after her. We can't spare her. We have to keep going towards Earth. And so they finally send the order to do the final jump into Earth orbit, which, yay, y'all, we get to see what Earth looks like in this show. We rarely visit Earth. In fact, I think they've only visited Earth like 3 times before, and it was usually like the president's offices. So Sheridan transmits the Earth frequencies, announces that the arrival of multiple forces, and that their objective is to oppose President Clark's tyranny, and he calls for the arrest. And he wants the disbanding of Night Watch, the Ministry of Peace. Every time I say that, I'm thinking of the Ministry of Darkness. Oh my God. So what is Ministry of Magic? Is that a Harry Potter thing? Yeah. Oh my God. Ministry of Darkness is a WWF thing, a wrestling thing back in the day. I was such a wrestling nerd. So, President Clark is in his office and he starts writing on his desk. And while that's going on, the planetary defense grid is armed, and all of those, what we see are all of these guns that are on these satellites, and they are turning towards Sheridan's crew.
And just like what are those things? A cult's leader. When your plan has been foiled, you're gonna make everybody in your cult drink the Kool-Aid and everybody die with you. You didn't care about us at all.
Right. He did the whole, if I can't rule you, then no one will.
Right. And Sheridan, he encourages everybody who is in the government. He's like, hey, you need to rise up. You know, he's going to call to arms for people who are still on Earth. He says their forces have been drawn away and they're disabled. There's nobody coming to help you. Don't nobody like you. You might as well give up. An Earth Force squad led by Senator Crosby, they're marching in on the president's office at that moment. And we realize, like, oh, they do have support for the resistance on Earth. Clark arms the defense grid and launches a missile salvo. Sheridan's crew, they're all using evasive maneuvers, and they are to only target the missiles and the platforms, but not to like kill anybody. And while on Earth, the resistance and Senator Crosby are trying to get into the president's office, we hear good old buddy, old pal, fascist Mr. President Clark. He offs himself in the office. When they break in, he's already dead. The PPG is still warm. And they look at what he wrote. And what he wrote on the paper, it said scorched earth. What this means is President Clark, the coward, before killing himself, he turned the defense grid onto Earth itself.
He's a loser.
And so if I can't have Earth, can't nobody have Earth.
And people still to this day are following these crazy people.
Because they are crazy. They follow their own.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance, and I don't know if they realize everything that's going on. I experienced recognizing my own cognitive dissonance this week, or was it last week? Whatever, recently. And it was just weird. It's like, how did I not see it? And then someone else explained it to me. I was like, oh, you're right. Okay.
You're a real live example if it's not too.
It's not too bad. It's I saw War of the Worlds with Ice Cube, and it reminded me of like the typical disaster movie. I didn't go into it thinking it was a thriller. I did not. My cognitive dissonance was the 1.5 hour long Amazon ad. Like and like the fact that the story was kind of closed in, despite the fact that it was a worldwide story. It wasn't a worldwide story. There was just this small group of people being affected by something happening from the whole world. And I guess the storytelling was very different from what a lot of people like now. Like anyone who I talked to, like 50 and over, was like, oh, it was a cool movie. And anyone younger than that was like, it's trash, it's horrible. Why would they do this to us? And I'm sitting there like, it was okay. I'm like, I see why the older people liked it, because they were type of movies that the adults made us watch when I was a kid, and that I've watched with older people as an adult. But then, so when I hear the younger people explain why they felt like it was horrible, I think everybody's relevant. But when the first time I watched it, like I just passed over the nonsensical science because I'm used to that from the movies. I passed over the commercialization of the Amazon packages, everything Amazon. They saved the world using Amazon Prime. And like literally, right, I looked over all that. Like, okay, the guy works for Amazon and he wants to help too. So he uses what he had. But for everyone else, it just felt like an ad. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of like an ad. Like that's what commercials look like nowadays. Like, and then it was also more of the family involvement in the story that I was invested in, where other people are like, why are we caring about this person's family when the world is being destroyed by aliens? So yeah, I was being biased. Oh, I was enormously biased when it came to it. And Ice Cube blaming the father and stuff. It's like, you know, I was already cut. My cognitive distance was already cut off, because you got NWA, F the Police, Children of the Corn playing someone who works for the FBI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's basically he is okay. So when you say that they are watching, he was the they.
He was the one that, yeah.
He's the one in the computer checking on everything that you're doing and watching, and he's got drones following his damn kids. Like he's the they. Mr. Children of the Corn, F the Police is the they.
I kind of feel the same way about. Hold on, babe, because isn't that the same as how I felt about Denzel Washington on Training Day? And at the end of the movie, I'm still waiting on the plot twist that makes him right. And it was like he was bad the whole movie Sunday, and I just couldn't make it make sense.
Well, in this one, at least he realizes he's wrong, kind of. Yeah.
So back to President Clark. What happens is Sheridan orders all the ships to target the defense grid. He calls assistance from the alien fleet. So they're coming in and they're blowing up all of the different platforms. The defense grid is retaliating. And so we're seeing like a real space battle, a lot of shooting back and forth, and that takes out a lot of ships are being damaged and destroyed on Sheridan's crew. But Agamemnon took a lot of crazy damage and it's not able to defend itself. And there's the final platform that is targeting the North American Eastern Seaboard. And Sheridan is like, oh, well, if we got to stop this thing, there's only one way to do it. And he orders his ship to ram.
Ram them.
He's doing the exact same thing that Ivanova did in her last space battle. Pretty cool writing. And right as he's about to ram it, the platform is destroyed. And the ship that destroyed it was Levcourt's Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
He intervened. He destroys the platform just in time before Sheridan's crashed into it. And we get a nice sigh of relief. Sheridan receives confirmation that the mission is accomplished. Earth is saved. Levcourt contacts Sheridan and he's like, hey, you're going to be court-martialed. But welcome back home.
Which is like nice compared to what happened to him.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, don't I get a court-martial? Don't I get it? No. Like, no.
Nah, you got it.
Yeah, he got tortured. This time it's like straight up with court-martial. Here's your straight up. This is your rights. We're giving you your rights.
Yep. So the conclusion of this episode, there is a lot that happens. Captain James relays that Sheridan is needed planetside immediately. Delenn joins Sheridan later, while Franklin is leaving Earth to try to stop Marcus from making a terrible mistake. Then we get the return of ISN, the real ISN. Not that loud, bombastic, fake reporter, but we get the original reporter. I think she was from season 2 when it was taken off the air. She's very emotional. Her name is Jane. She's very emotional, and she is describing the crew's past suffering and how they couldn't tell the truth, but they're back on Earth, and Earth has been liberated. She reassures everyone that EarthGov is compiling a casualty list, so they're actually going to try to tell the truth about what's going on, because it was an actual civil war, and they declared the Civil War over. And then they need to focus on healing and rebuilding. On the White Star, Marcus, moving in hyperspace, super fast, trying to contact Babylon 5. Nobody is answering. And all he does is see the log that influenced Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what made him go back so fast. Back on Babylon 5, we see that Marcus is with Ivanova. And we also hear we get a little flashback of what happened in season 2 when Sheridan and Franklin are talking about the healing machine, and how I think we get Franklin's notes about it, that, you can heal people with it, but if it's something that someone's terminally ill or gravely injured, there's really no way around it. One person has to give up their life for another person. And we see that Marcus is connected to the machine, and he has Ivanova connected to it. And he's laying right next to her. He leans over and says, I love you. And he then lays down as his life force is being drained to help heal her.
And when she wakes up, she's gonna kill him.
If he doesn't die.
And so we see that Marcus is, for the love of his life, he is giving up what is left of his life. And this is really wild. If you have like a retrospect look of Marcus's life, he's very singular, very solitary. He loves seeing everybody else happy, but when it comes to his own happiness, he passes up on it. And he pursued Ivanova the entire time. And he really did love her. And he loved her to where he gave up his life. It makes me think, like, what would, if Marcus is one ranger, what are the other rangers like? I think, the same thing happened to the Bryan Cranston character. He gave up his life for the resistance. And it seemed to have paid off. But wow, these guys are ready to die. And then the show ends.
It was... I was actually, despite all the things that's happening, I was expecting the aliens to come in as the cavalry, and that hasn't happened. So now I'm thinking that Londo's going to show up and be like, "Hey, we were ready." Like, and Sheridan's going to be like, "We got it." How did you take on your whole planet by yourself?
Mm-hmm. The cool thing, because the cool thing is when that last shot when they were around Earth in orbit, which they did have it wasn't the best view of Earth, but it was like, hey, there's Earth. But we see all of these alien ships around Earth, and they're not to invade. They're not to take over Earth. They're there to save Earth. Sheridan did all of this work in order to save Earth, and that is really something very important to pay attention to, because Earth, their whole thing was we're trying to save ourselves from alien influence, and the alien influence is like, we're trying to save you from yourself.
Save you from yourself.
And apparently suicidal despot who decided like, no, scorched Earth is better than saved Earth.
I was very I felt complete because it has a very structured line of events where they're able to take, I guess this is the pre-season finale, and tie it all the way back to some of the very first episodes from season 1. I thought that was masterful. And I recall in passing watching the episode, the scene of Ivanova being saved by Marcus, and I had never seen any Babylon 5 ever. And I like Big City where I'd be like, babe, I want to ask a question and I want you to give me the answer, but don't tell me the end, but just like answer this question. And
what did I say?
There's no way I can answer this question for you. And what I am realizing after watching the 5 seasons is that one scene encapsulates truly 5 seasons worth of content in that one moment. And he realistically could not answer that question for me. But at the time, I was pissed.
Yeah, you were mad. I was like, you gotta watch.
Considering they were kind of surprised with the needing to write this season, and they suddenly had to take all of the things that they already had. Luckily, they had so much to restart something whole new to give you this not so final release. This ain't even the end of the season. Like, what else do we figure out?
Yeah. And there's a whole other season of story for them to tell. And remember, we still got telepaths.
We concluded like 3 wars in this one season, I think.
We concluded the Shadow War, the Midbari Civil War, and now the Earth. It's the Earth Civil War.
No, I'm thinking about the Centauri and the Narn. Like, even though that was part of the Shadow War, right? But they were still warring with each other within the Shadow War. So, like, what's his name? Finally freeing the Narn was the end of that whole 100 years of them being pissed off at each other. And they're still probably going to be pissed off at each other, but now they're not legally pissed off with each other. Yeah, then the Midari went to war, and now Earth is just finished its war. So what can they top it with?
Well, they're working on kind of like that shadow. It's a shadow war of the telepaths, and when we get into that, you'll see kind of how deep that can get. But I wanted to switch real quick and ask y'all about Garibaldi's redemption.
Okay.
Like, what are your thoughts about what he's got going?
Haven't changed my mind. He's worth being redeemed because he was, what is the word? He was, his brain was, he was forced. He didn't do that shit by his own will. It wasn't like he was coerced and just like kind of somebody slipped him some bad tea and then he flip-flopped on his friends. Like, they put his whole brain under.
I don't think he's truly gotten his redemption. He doesn't technically need redemption for selling out Sheridan, but he needs redemption for everything else about it. He hasn't learned. No, Look, you still got stabbed. The first thing you do is get stabbed in the back again. Like, you had to learn to like chill out and use brain the right way. Like, just
He doesn't watch his back. The one time somebody had his back, I think it was the two times somebody had his back, they both knew how to fight. One was Sinclair and the other one was that boxer. They knew how to fight. Everybody else, they're just like, no, Garibaldi.
He hasn't probably had enough time to really digest what's happened to him at all. No one has. They went straight into the war right after freeing him and finding out that Michael wasn't working on his own volition. So I guess
I mean, also Ivanova was like, if you see him on Babylon 5, shoot. So there's still that standing order. So yeah, it's best that he does.
Yeah. So now
his help on
at least the people fighting in the war know that he's not to be shot. The people with guns know that he's not to be shot. At least yeah.
I mean, what is it? Shoot Garibaldi or deal with Ivanova when she comes back, because she's coming back. Because remember, Ivanova is gone. Got to deal with the wrath of Ivanova when all is said and done.
I mean, like if you told her we've got command from Sheridan, she'd be okay. Like that's all you gotta do. Tell her that Sheridan said not to shoot. Yeah, you'd be straight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we do have all of that to. Right. People need to grow and learn and so that they can become the characters for the next season.
It makes me think about what the fallout is going to be, because there are still captains who never joined Sheridan's side, and now they're on the side of people who are probably going to be removed from positions, arrested, court-martialed, etc.
Right, because we did have a huge fallout. So now after the fallout, we have to have reconstruction, and people get mad when you try to build new things the way that they don't want it built, and they don't let that mess go for hundreds of years.
And then there are people who are like, well, you just got to follow orders. How are people going to deal with that? I'd be very interested to see how that's handled in the show. The thing is, I do know, because I've seen I've seen what happened in the next season, but I'm very interested. So if we got 3 more episodes in the season,
yeah.
So there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things that have to happen now. Any predictions?
Well, I told you from mine already. Those are supposed to mine. So that telepaths. We've got Ivanova and Marcus. We've got the reconstruction. Yeah,
Sheridan and Dylan.
What's new with them? They're still doing whatever. They're good, right? And now Sheridan never got a chance to recover from being tortured for a week. He was tortured for a week and went straight into battle.
We hopefully will get some good answers to those things in these next couple of episodes. And then we got to see what life is going to be like on Babylon 5 here for the rest of the season. With that, let's get on up out of here. We have liberated Earth from the fascist dictator. We'd like to thank you all for joining us in this episode of Voices of Hyperspace. You can join us on our YouTube, our Facebook, our Instagram, and our TikTok at Voices in Hyperspace. I'm Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok.
I'm Mela Siler. You can find me at MelsRebellion.com. You can find me at Rails Rebellion on Discord and YouTube.
And we'll see you out there.